Excellent. Thank you for coming, everyone. This is the Fang Talon panel / premiere of episode 1. I am Kyle Decker. I was the executive producer. I also co-wrote 3 of the episodes, and I played one of the lead characters, Wallace.
I am Jacob Gulliver. I am the director for all the episodes. I wrote most of them, and I did a lot of cinematography and editing as well. So this is kind of our baby, and it is for you. It is a show by nerds for nerds. This is our target market. So we're really excited to be here to show it to you guys today.
I'm Tom Lockman. I'm the actor. I play Selvig. I also help with some of the construction design, location design. We all kind of did a little bit of everything. So.
And I am Maxwell Savage. I played Vance. I did most of the fight choreography, and I did the occasional makeup thing.
Now we want to, for many of you, I recognize some familiar faces, cast, crew, Kickstarter backers, awesome. Some of you may be brand new to this. Fang Talon is a fantasy comedy web series. So it blends 2 genres, something nerds are familiar. You know, we've seen the horror, comedy, and other things. Fantasy comedy you don't see quite as often, unless you consider The Hobbit a fantasy comedy.
The comedy's a fantasy.
Yes. And we also threw Max said fight choreography, real sword fights and everything, and it's in a web series format, so it has 9 5 to 8 minute episodes, and that's what we are. So now that everyone's clear what Fang Talon is, we want to talk briefly about the pre-production we went through, and I'd like to start with Max. If you tell them what you did with the fight choreography, how you planned it, etc.
Oh man, fight choreo was really kind of intense on this. I'm sorry, Kyle, do you want me to just talk about fight choreo in general, or for
How do you prep for it?
How I
you did for rehearsal, etc.
Well, generally speaking, what I did was I looked over the scripts. I came up with a couple of ideas of how I wanted the fight to look as I was working, and then I came in and what was really interesting about this project in terms of fight choreography was I had no idea who I was working with until the day of some days. We would call friends, call extras, they would show up on set. What kind of experience do you have? What kind of training do you have? Do you have anything we can work with? Because we thought we had everybody lined up, and then they fell through at the last minute, or we got to somewhere and it was like, oh, we need bandits for this episode to show up and fight in the first 5 minutes, in the first 30 seconds. We have nothing else. So that was a really exciting part where it's like, okay, this is what I want to do. And then people show up on set. Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And more often than not, the answer was no. So I had to rewrite it on the spot, which was fine and worked. But it was really, really interesting to be working on set. I did less work than I should have, to be perfectly honest. And as a result, it was really interesting. Less pre-production work than I should have. And as a result, it was always very interesting to show up on set, teach someone how to swing a sword, teach someone how to swing a sword safely, teach someone the precise steps in which I want them to swing a sword, not actually at me, but make it look like it, and have about 2 hours to go through all of these steps and then film it, and make it look real on top of everything else.
As Max was mentioning, one of the really fun things about indie film is that we can't afford to pay everybody. Sometimes they just don't show up and they don't tell you.
Yeah.
So that was the thing that happened.
It happens. It happens. You get over it.
Now, thank you, Max. Tom, one thing, we filmed an entire show outdoors on location, because you can't really film a fantasy show in a warehouse or anything like you could a steampunk or sci-fi.
I could have sworn this was a castle. Have we not been in a castle all weekend? Am I looking
So
fooling myself?
Tom is going to tell you the process we went through to scout some of the locations and the work we put in for that.
Well, I think I scouted like 2 locations with you guys. One was the location we had for the last episode. Was actually some private land owned by a family friend of mine, which was probably the best location we had because it was way out in the boonies. There was pretty much nothing around. But with the low budget production, everything else had to be pretty close to home, especially for the episodes that had a lot more people. So we used some state parks that were close to the Twin Cities. The major problem we had with that was a lot of them were right next to freeways. They would have public parks, was right next to a train yard. The one we used the most was right next to a train yard, so we always had trains moving in the background.
Yeah, we have PA, so don't walk through here, we're firing longbows, give us just a moment, you know?
Don't walk your dog, you don't want to. And actually, we did find another place, which I think Kyle should be talking about. I think Kyle, you did a lot of the major location scouting, had a lot of trials with the state parks.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them we had to do permitting, so as producer, I spent a lot of time on the phone with public servants, which are good, hardworking, any public servants out here, I applaud you, you do valuable work. And some of them were really excited and willing to help me. Like anyone in Ramsey County or St. Paul were really nice and open. Hennepin County, Minneapolis was they're a bigger county, a bigger city. It's like, who are you and why should I give you time of day? You know, and there's, oh, you're a film production. It costs $1,000 per day for a permit. I'm like, well, I'm not Michael Bay here. I'm like a guy with a $6,000 budget. You know, I can't afford, so.
They didn't seem to appreciate that, you know, we wanted to go about it the right way.
So if anyone works with Mayor Ryback and wants to support independent film and you can get a word in, say their permitting for independent film needs to really change for independent film to survive in Minneapolis. St. Paul, Ramsey County is fantastic, so we just need Minneapolis to come along board on that.
Which was the county where we went up to the Viking?
Oh, that was Crosby, Minnesota. Awesome little town. We filmed at a little Viking-themed bed and breakfast that has a Viking that runs it. He used to be the mascot for the Vikings back in the early 90s, I believe. He's this big, crazy, tall guy with a huge Great Dane named Thor. Like his head comes up to my chest. And he's got axes and chainmail and everything on the walls, so we needed an inn for an episode. We filmed there, and we filmed in these beautiful locations in the town, and the whole town. The newspaper came out and interviewed us. We had the You Betcha Bar and Grill afterwards and everything. Really great town. I would love to go back there and film. So.
And when you called them, they were like,
they were excited.
really? You want to film here?
Yeah, they welcomed us with open arms. So small town Minnesota.
After getting our permits, that was like the greatest experience ever, because you know we just got enough. You just got off the phone for like talking with an hour from somebody from the county, and then we called up right afterwards, and they were like, "Oh yeah, just do it.
Let me get Carla in Parks and Recs.
When it's done.
We'll let the police chief know so we can close the streets if we need him to." And I'm like, it's like, I'll give you a cell phone number if you need to. I don't think I'll need that. And Jacob, I want him to talk about how he came. Jacob conceptualized the idea for the show. I approached him wanting to do a web series of sort, fantasy based, but he actually came up with the concept of the show. I'd like him to talk briefly about how he came up with that concept.
Sure. So the sort of concept that I had in mind when we were starting out, we wanted to do something medieval. We had a couple other ideas for various different types of fantasy projects that had never quite reached their fruition. But we'd always kind of had in the back of our minds this is something we really, really want to do. So I tried to think of ways that we could create some interesting characters and some really cool stories in a definitely low budget setting. So we came up with this world where there's this kingdom which has been dissolved. There was a lineage of kings that passed without an heir, and the Council of Lords for this lineage split apart and started fighting over all the land. So the world that it's set in, they kind of go between these different little factions, and all the lords are sort of squabbling over territory and stealing things from each other and grabbing at different sections.
It's mercenaries paradise.
Yeah, so it becomes this sort of mercenaries paradise. Everybody's trying to make a little bit of money because the only people who really have any money is like the lords or the people of of power, whether they be great warriors or great wizards or whatever we have. So we came up with some interesting characters and some interesting people to inhabit that world. We also had the challenge of we knew who we wanted to use right away as our characters. That was part of we've always been friends. We've done projects with each other bunches of times before.
We play RPGs together every Tuesday night at my house, so we're gamers too.
So we had to figure out what they were going to be and who their characters were going to be. And I knew that Max would want to be in sword fights and making sword fights all the time. I knew that Tom would want to be ridiculous and generally make people laugh. And I knew that Kyle would just do whatever I told him to.
I was in the Marines, so I'm really good at following orders. So, The other thing I want to talk to, since this is a fantasy period piece, costumes were a big part of it. We couldn't just have people show up in jeans and t-shirts. So we had to make, every time you write a character in the script, even if it's Thug, swings at Wallace, gets knocked down or whatever, we had to make a costume for Thug, you know? So every single one. So the ladies at Joe and Fabrics got to know us by name. The SR Harris, they got to know us by name, so all the
Mr.
local
Sid
places.
Harris gave me his business card
Yes,
as well.
so,
He's like, hey, come hang out.
We had, you know, my wife, Amy, over there, did, both of the costumes while being pregnant with my son, so she would often pull late nights, you know, while pregnant, busting out costumes, often for, we're filming tomorrow, we need to finish 3 Lord's Cloaks. And I did roll up my sleeves a couple times and clumsily got on a sewing machine to finish them. We have some other folks, Karina, who did some costumes for us. There's the Ochoa Tea House Party Room. Amaya in there, she did one of the villains' costumes for us. We had lots of people contribute and help with costuming.
I remember Mike Erickson, who's in the front row here, was sewing buttons onto a shirt.
In the van. On the
at 5 on the way up to
Only
cross.
stabbed my finger 3 times.
I remember showing that costume in
So I'm
the
like, does anyone can sew, because I need buttons in this by the time we get to Crossview film. Tom's mother also is a longtime costumer, has done costumes for productions like Guthrie and stuff, did some costume pieces as well for us. We have some found costumes, but largely a lot of them are custom made from a pattern my wife invented or from a shirt she took apart at a thrift store and reconstructed in medieval style. So a lot of cool stuff, lots of searching on Google for source pictures. I'm a history major, what I went to college for, so I have a lot of my textbooks of historical drawings of costumes to use as sources.
I just have to say, it pays to have parents who have theater background and were constant workers at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival.
Yes, lots of the predominant white frilly medieval style shirt you'll see in this first episode of The Guards was based on a shirt, a Ren Fair shirt from the 70s Tom had that my wife deconstructed and recreated in mass.
And made
which is
different
pretty cool.
sizes from it.
And multiple sizes. Like, here's the original shirt for someone with a 32-inch chest. We need to make it for someone with a 62-inch chest, a 48, you know, and et cetera. So it was pretty intense.
That was back when we still had sizes for our actors.
And the last thing I want to mention is we funded the major bulk of this on Kickstarter, which is a very valuable resource for independent filmmakers.
Correct.
It allowed us to shoot a short kind of teaser video of what we wanted the show to look like, to release that, and then offer things in exchange for people backing the project. So once this thing's fully edited, we're going to be sending out full DVDs with commentary and all kinds of extras to it to Kickstarter backers. I'm finishing writing a role-playing game module for a system called Castles of Crusades, which is a small independent role-playing game company. They sponsored they gave us some money as well through Kickstarter, and are allowing to use their full license to their game to write it, and they're going to publish it for us for free. They're going to print it and everything. Their artist is going to do a cover.
Yeah.
So,
Highly
you know,
recommend you guys check out the system if you haven't. It's basically,
so those of you
it's
who
like
missed
the-
out, who aren't Kickstarter backers, we will be, we have Danny who's actually building a website for us, and we will have a shop that you'll be able to buy things like t-shirts and dice bags and other items. And we're not in this to make money. That was never our intention. We wanted to make a project with our friends that was fun, that was geek-based. All this merchandising, we've spent so much money of our own money on this project top of Kickstarter. We would have to sell so many t-shirts and dice bags to see a profit. Our goal to sell things is to have a block of money to make more projects. Like, we make $2,000 off of merchandising. That $2,000 is going to go into costumes and props for our next production. So we want to make this kind of train of just enough cash flow to keep making projects and keep making stuff that we love. And we hope if we love it, the community, specifically nerd community, is going to enjoy it as well. And if anyone here is a Kickstarter backer, actually raise your hands. Please,
Yes.
see. Give these people a hand. I have people giving me money after the fact too. These people had enough faith in us to give us money to do a project without seeing a finished project. They had the faith to go, you know, I like these guys, I appreciate their work ethic, I'm gonna give them money and see what they can do. And that's awesome. You people that support local projects at Kickstarter, give a hand. Those of you who haven't done it, go find a local project on Kickstarter, give them $10. Find a theater project, find a role-playing game that someone's developing here. Find a film, find a music video or an album, go support it. support the small guys because Kickstarter is a huge resource. So that's I'll get off my soapbox. But find local projects, back them, help them out. Indiegogo's and website people use to fund as well. Check it out, find something local. So,
What was the name of the website again?
Kickstarter, and the other one's Indiegogo. So, we kind of talked about pre-production and how we set everything up. I mean, once we had the Kickstarter funds, we picked out a filming schedule, we got our scripts. Most of our actors were cast, not necessarily extras, that was the biggest problem. Our main speaking roles, we had cast pretty early. We used some of our friends, but several local stage and film actors that are really fantastic. And we'll see one of them, his name's Daryl Davey in this episode. He's a recent graduate of University of Wisconsin River Falls Theater and Film Department. And it's his first, one of his first non-student roles. And we originally cast an actor 3 times his age, 1.5 feet taller than him, and about 200 pounds heavier than him. So, but that actor ended up falling through for that episode. We used him later in the series. So Daryl had this role we originally cast for an older, bigger gentleman. And Daryl kind of took it his own direction and really did a fantastic job with the same lines. And that's what really makes it what Daryl did. So working with that director. So, and Kickstarter allowed us to find all these people and make all these connections, make it happen. That being said, we'd like to show you a clip. Now, caveat, this clip we're going to show you has no sound and no final coloration. This is from the second episode, which will be entitled Thick as Thieves. And just kind of show some of the action in it. You'll see local actress Meredith Larson, who is a fantastic, if you guys ever get a chance, if any of you are filmmakers, work with Meredith. She is super professional. She shows up with her lines memorized, and then she's just an awesome person in general.
And she gets hard.
Yes, she's a really good stage combatant too. You know, as Elliot, who's in this, you won't see him in this clip, but she did a fight where she had to beat him down with a half staff, so it was pretty fun. So to set this up is, Lady Erin is the character, has contracted Fang Talon, the mercenary troop of the 3 of us, to help round up some bandits. And we are walking through and we get ambushed by the bandits. And you're going to see, is the effect shot in this one?
Yeah.
You're going to see, we did have a 3D artist do a lot of magical effect shots.
I'll do breakdowns.
We have wizards, so we'll show that. So we're going to show the action. We did this on a Steadicam. Jacob ran backwards for a lot of these shots with a Steadicam on a trail in Battle Creek Park in Ramsey County. So please enjoy, and Dan, go ahead.
So this is the little setup. They have some cute little dialogue with heavy subtext for a while before they get into it. The thieves are hanging out up above them on the ridge. They start to fire arrows down at them.
And they didn't fire actual arrows at us.
Yes.
Our 3D artists put the arrows
We have
coming in
digital
at us.
composites of arrows in, which turned out really, really nice. And then we have a pretty cool magic effect at the end up here. So this doesn't look like it's the correct frame rate here. Yeah, this is way too slow.
Sorry.
So as long as we play the episode at the correct frame rate. So this is actually normally fast and slow motion here. And we actually ran back and forth and passed multiple times to get the takes. And I will say in that padded gambeson, that got a little hot because I think it was about 80 degrees that day. It was our only warm day of shooting, and of course it's when I had to run, which as a big guy was kind of crappy. But it was worth it for the shot. As Jacob said, I'll do anything he asks. So that's a clip to give you an idea of the look and feel of the show. We are going to show an episode. So next up, I'm going to want Max to talk again here of the actual filming on set. We talked a lot about pre-production and Kickstarter. I want Max to talk about how some of the fights went, maybe your favorite fight or the most painful fight you did.
Playing already?
Stop it.
There was at least one fight every episode, so that's, so there was a lot of stuff. I think probably my favorite fight that I was in was in episode 5, which guild business doing assassins. And I fought Jen Cisco, who's out at Prevent Fest. She's a fantastic combatant. She's a really great person to work with. And it was probably my favorite fight to choreograph. It was my favorite to rehearse. It was also the one where I got to roll around, where we didn't actually check the location that thoroughly before we did the choreo, so I was rolling around with my knees in a gravel pit for part of it, which was really unpleasant. So that was probably that one.
But it was a beautiful location.
It was a gorgeous location.
No, it was right next to the river, and it was fall. It was covered in red, and Red Leaves. It was almost like something out of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, but without CGI. You know, we just had this awesome location thanks to nature.
It was gorgeous, and it worked perfectly until we got there and we went, oh wait, we have both of these fights happening in this location at the same time. Suddenly, those rocks are a problem. But we made it go, and it was a lot of fun. Every fight that I got to do was a pleasure to work on.
That casting was a really tricky one too, because we needed somebody who could be really intimidating and athletic. I mean, he really skilled.
But also do that fight.
Yes.
Right, yeah, so, you know, it was a tough one to cast. We looked at probably
The auditions.
6 or 7 trying to figure out who's going to do that part.
Yeah, there was.
When Jen came in, we were just like, yep, we're done.
Yep. Okay, found it. Good. Cool. Yeah, we had that was one of the few things. So it's like, okay, if we want this fight to look the way we do, then we need somebody with a certain amount of expertise. It doesn't even need to be stage combat expertise, but it needs to be something. It needs to be some kind of dance, because when you walk into stage combat, you're looking preferably for someone who knows how to move. It needs to be. I can easily work with someone who has martial arts experience or weapon training, or stage combat is always preferable, or dance. I mean, anything where you are moving with a partner, anything where you are aware of your body and you're moving, that really is the key in stage combat, especially when you have 2 hours to be able to pick up and go. If you're not training, if you don't have time to train someone, particularly in this is where this cut happens, this is how this is this reaction, you need to be able to jump, you need to go. So.
Well, and sometimes those fights, because I had a fight with Clayton Rushdow, who's another great local actor. He does lots of stage combat. He's a martial artist. I had to do a fight with him with my character Wallace, where he had a short sword and I had my big broadsword, which mixing different weapons is interesting. But there's a particular part where his character has to kick my character into a wall, and we did several takes, and the kick wasn't selling, mostly because I wasn't selling getting hit. So I was hot, I was tired, we needed the shot, we were running out of daylight. I just go, Clayton, this next take, kick me. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, I'm wearing a Patty Gamison, I'm a tough guy,
I was
can
not
handle
there
it.
for that, I do not condone that.
He kicked me, and that shot is what made the final cut. And I was watching it, I think with my wife, was like, holy crap, it looks like it hurt. And I'm like, because it did. But it was only worth it. Bruises heal, film, or in our case, digital video lasts forever, and it was totally worth it. And you know, Clayton to his fairness, is like, are you sure? And he only did it on the assistance of the executive producer. So, you know, I was like, I'm not Wallace, I'm not the actor right now, I'm the executive producer, I'm telling you to kick the crap out of another actor. And he did.
As long as the other actor is you.
Exactly.
As long as the fact that I was the wizard was probably both a boon and a curse, because a lot of the fights that's really awesome, and I love my swinger of swords, but I don't like getting hurt. I'm fine with just waving a staff around.
Yeah, he did a lot of this, and then we'll add the magic effects in post. You know, it just, and it was really hard for me, like offset, not to make sounds when he did like that.
It's to be fair, how I made sound.
That's hard when you see a wizard go like this, and another actor throws himself on the ground. It's, you want to make the sound effects on set, and you're like, but the sound guy will be mad at me, so I gotta show him.
I have whole raw footage tapes where I can hear myself just making noises as I'm following the action. I could hear myself behind the camera like, I remember doing that. Listen to it, I'm like, I did not know that existed.
But no, what I can say, I am very, very glad that I can say we had no really significant problems in this project. We went in, we had blades,
in production and pre-production.
In production and pre-production. In terms of the fights specifically,
Yes.
there were no horrible injuries. There was at least one situation where a place we were fighting with a giant chase scene involving swords and a sword fight had been clear-cut recently, so there were all these saplings that were sticking up at sharp angles, so it was kind of like walking on Fuji sticks.
One of our actors went home and found a puncture wound in his rib cage. And he's one of my good friends that someone followed through. I'm like, hey, do you want to be in my film project? Can you be at Battle Creek State Park in an hour? He's like, yeah. We dressed him up like a bandit, gave him a big spike club, zero fight experience.
And to his credit,
he was great.
Totally.
But he's an athlete and stuff, so he had the physical, and he's the biggest the one thing about doing this whole project with nerds is most nerds don't really go to the gym that much. They're not muscular. So Gus showed up, and this guy plays basketball and football all the time. The guy, has muscle lines. And standing, I'm looking at him through the camera, and Jacob's framing, and I'm just like, he looks really scary and intimidating. This is awesome.
Well,
It's
and
like,
he was what, 6'3", 6'4"?
Fist on fire.
Yes.
Yes. So, but through movie magic, Tom was able to kick his butt. So,
Only, that's the only way.
but he was awesome. And he is actually one of our Kickstarter backers as well. So, I know he's not here, but Gus really saved our butt that day. He did a fantastic job. You'll see him in episode 6, I believe.
Anyway, with the exception of apparently a bunch of ribcage, which I had completely forgotten about. I believe we made it through without any large injuries. I mean, there were a couple of
And we only broke one weapon, which almost killed me. But
Oh yeah.
I'll let you tell that story if you like. 'Cause
Sure.
that's a good one.
So again, in episode 5 of Guild Business, there's a lot of really fun, really fast fights in there. The wizard gets pinned to a wall, and Selvig, the wizard gets pinned to a wall. Wallace throws his hat. He pulls an
I throw my
arch out.
helmet like
It's great.
Captain America, take out a bandit, which we totally did in post. So I
Yeah,
didn't actually throw my helmet into person.
And then I fight, and then he has the fight against Clinton, I have the fight against Jen, and then as soon as that's done, the head of the guild shows up, and I have to fight the head of the guild. Now, we had this really kind of cool iron knife. It never made blade contact, so it wasn't that big a deal. But we had this, what kind of weapon it was. It was this iron knife, probably about so long, which curved. It had sort of a feather talon
I believe it
appearance
was
to
purchased
it.
here at Con last year.
Actually, no, I got it at the source.
Okay.
I saw it in the cage and I was like, mine. That's awesome.
It had that blade, and then it had this handle which looked like standard bone. And I don't know what it was made out of. It was really kind of
It
brutal.
was designed to look like a sacrificial knife, basically. The
Right.
handle was like shaped like bone.
Right. Yeah.
And the blade was like this long talon
Yeah.
looking thing.
It
It
was-
was really, really cool.
It was big,
all
kind of scary, and
like
nasty.
fire blackened iron. Awesome.
But I don't remember what the handle was made out of. When we were doing the disarm in Kyle's backyard, there was A, a rock, and B, a sidewalk. And it kept hitting it, and it kept hitting these hard surfaces until eventually it's like, this blade's a little loose. Is this okay? We take off the wrap, we tighten it all up. I think we use gap tape or something. We rewrap it with the leather, we get ready to go again. We go out, we shoot on set, everything's going perfectly. We run the fight, and there's this great part where he comes up with this big overhand stab for me. I slide to the side, throw up my arm, and catch the knife there. So most of the time that worked just fine. The very last take, something had happened. I don't know exactly what it was, but something had happened, and
The tang broke.
The tang broke?
Yeah.
Okay. The tang of the knife actually snapped off then, and the knife itself, so I blocked, and the knife came here, and just rolled off the back of the pauldron. So so there's a scar on the pauldron right there, from where the knife did not go into my
And
shoulder.
my reaction as a producer when I saw that, I'm like, crap, did we get that on, did we? And David said, Max, are you okay?
My first reaction was, am I bleeding? No. My second reaction was, we had better have damn gotten that
And
on
we
film.
did.
I didn't even know, because I was like, after we shot, then you were like doing something, and I was like reviewing the shot. I was like, oh, that's a pretty good one. And then like, I saw that episode, and I was like, oh, hey, what happened?
When I say we didn't get Max's reaction with the blade going past the angle that the shot was at.
Not in frame. It was like an over-the-shoulder reaction shot or something. The knife was not even in frame.
So, it was,
So other than those two incidents,
Well,
we had
there
no
was-
weapon breaks. We had no primary injury. Are
We
you
went through 2 swords for Kyle's sword.
Yes.
Oh, that's
that
right.
was-
but
That
wait,
was because Kyle stepped on the pommel.
yeah, when we were doing that chase scene, we were doing that chase scene we just showed. I have the baldric with the sword, and I was running. The clasp made for the baldric wasn't very good. It kept falling off. So as my fat ass was running, the baldric fell, and the sword fell on the ground, and I was running. I stepped on the pommel, and the sword went between my legs up, but I got over it
Yeah,
with
and
Tom
I'm
right behind me. He had to leap over the sword to
Flying
prevent
here,
from being
straight
yelled.
to my crotch.
We pick it up, like, the sword's okay, and the pommel is bent like that. Luckily, the company we bought it from, I called them, they shipped me another sword that day, and we got it before we even finished, like, shot the next week.
What I can say about Gen 2 swords, they make crowbars, but they do honor their warranty. They make giant, horribly balanced crowbars, but they honor their, and they do not break unless you step on the pommel. But if you can manage to break them, they will honor their warranty.
So that same shot was like the same situation. I get my own like little world when I'm looking through a lens, and like Tom stops like abruptly, I'm trying to get out of the way of that sword, and I'm right behind him running with the steady cam, and he stopped. I'm like, why'd you stop? It was so good.
Oh, you're gonna die! I dedicated this project, but I'm not that dedicated, damn it. Plus, we had like 7 more episodes to film, so it's gonna be awesome. The other really cool thing we did is filming is on the private land up north, we actually built a small village to film the finale episode in, because when we were talking in scripts, I'm like, I'm a huge fan of Westerns and samurai movies. Like, I love them. I'm like, Jacob, we have to do 7 Samurai Magnificent 7 Ode episode, but with the 3 of us protecting a village of really crappy villagers against 3 like assholes. And we ended up casting, we turned around, we actually had like 3 traditional adventuring parties. We had a knight in armor, a wizard, and an elf archer sent to wipe out this village, and you have us 3 mercenaries protecting them to kind of turn her phrase. But we built this cool village, and there's several people here that helped me build this village out of the thing. You know, we're putting straw on top of these cardboard roofs with liquid nails to glue it,
Oh,
and
we
then,
built stuff too.
what's
There
that?
was so much building.
Yeah, there's lots of building, and it looks really good. To their credit, it looks fantastic on campus, especially for the budget. We built the whole village for about $900.
Yep.
So, you know, a lot.
Some of that village is actually still up there.
Yeah.
We eventually should probably take care of.
And we built it in a swamp because we wanted to look like crappy. Luckily, it was so dry last year, the ground was nice and solid, but I'm pretty sure it's covered in water now. So, but you know, so that we had a lot of fun filming. It was a lot of work. We filmed it in 3 weekends in September, and then a full like 10-day period in October straight. That full week we filmed, I think Jake and I put in about 180-hour work week each. We're not including a couple all-nighters and stuff, but we got it done. We had to get back to work and everything because we do have day jobs as independent filmmakers.
Yeah.
But we got it done.
The funds coming to CONvergence every year, of course.
Yeah. So we got it done. We were really excited. You know, now we did have some hang-ups in post-production. Those of you who are backers are aware of this from our regular updates and everything. Is we are now on our 3rd sound engineer. Our first one fell through because of family issues, which is cool, it happens. Our second one was a con artist who was trying to get us do as little work as possible and then asked for more money to finish the project after he missed his deadline, because we were supposed to have the whole series ready to go for con instead of the first episode. But he didn't tell us till the 22nd of June that he needed more money, and then we were like, no, we want whatever you finish, we want our files back, and we'll be seeing more of you later in a not friendly fashion. But we got found, luckily, in 1 week through a connection, thanks to Meredith Larson, got us a connection, and this guy's really good. We did, and he's like, we have to have something to show for con, so he worked tirelessly this week to finish the sound pass, so we have this first episode to show you, and he's already working on episode 2. His name's Kurt Radke of, I think,
Tiny
Coyote Films, so if you see any of their projects on Kickstarter, he really pulled our butts out of the fire. But because of the sound engineer problem, all our delays in the show have come through our sound engineering. Our editing, our special effects, our actors, everything else went pretty much to plan with only minor problems. Our only major problem has been a sound tech. So a production of this budget having a major problem really isn't uncommon. We just thought we were getting lucky and none of that was going to happen. So it was a harsh reality check, get slapped in the face with the sound engineering problems. But we're back on track. We have a guy. The whole series should be released by August. And it'll all be on.
We should promise that.
Well, hopefully. It'll be all released this year. But it'll all be on YouTube, free to watch.
As soon as we have it
Yeah,
done.
exactly.
Because we want it to be done, at least.
Yep, so it'll be on YouTube, you can watch for free. That being said, if you want to know when updates come out, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I have business cards with all these websites if you want to Like our Facebook page because we regularly update it. There's plenty of behind the scenes pictures and stuff on the Facebook page. It's not just a thing for us to shell our show. We're very interactive. There's lots of fun stuff on there. So if you guys are into the social media stuff, go like our Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you will get regular updates and everything on that.
To show our show. Our show is part of the show.
That being said, we've talked quite a bit about production. I would like to show you guys another clip. This clip is from episode 7, which is one of my very favorites.
One of my favorite scenes in the whole show is Chris Sheik, who is a tiny stuntman that we love and adore, running from some of Lord Hector's guards, a few of which are actually here in the audience today. And just watching him gleefully run makes me so happy.
And he's a stuntman by trade, so there's a scene, he's like, you want me to jump off that bridge? I'll totally jump off that bridge. Yes. That would be an awesome shot. And he, mind you, he's running full speed. He is barefoot with nothing but cloth wraps on his feet. That's how much of a awesome stuntman. He's like, well, it's better for the costume. Yeah, you don't have to film from my ankles up so you don't get that shot. So he is running barefoot through Hidden Falls Park off Ford Parkway in St. Paul, through the woods full speed for this chase scene. So, and his acting, he's a stuntman by trade. His comedic acting performance in this episode is probably my favorite. I broke so many times on set filming this episode when he would have to whisper a funny joke in my ear in character, and I just lost it multiple times. So, because I'm not an actor and I sucked at it at times. But I as far as breaking and stuff, Jacob would eventually beat a good performance out of me. So please watch this and enjoy. This is a really fun scene to film. Once again, no coloration, no sound. It'll look even better once it's released.
No.
And he really is that small. That is not movie magic.
There might be a little forced perspective there.
So, yeah, he did multiple takes of running like that. And then, luckily it was so dry last year, he didn't have to jump to a river. This was just a dry creek bed below him. And he jumped. We did have a foam pad down there for him to do that. So, it was pretty fantastic. And here comes one of my favorite things. Notice when he falls here, the hood on his cloak is going to flip over his head. We got that, we were like, that is the take. So, we did some fun things. He is playing a halfling. He's got the ears. He's already small, to make him even look even smaller. We did some things. There's a scene right after that. He's actually standing in indentation in the ground. We covered with leaves, didn't? And then I'm sitting up on a log with another log on top of it to make me taller. Max is standing up on a hill, so when you get the camera angle, he truly looks like a halfling, and we didn't have to use,
Little forced perspective.
yeah, forced perspective and everything. And then some of the walking Steadicam shots, he actually crouched down to do like this duck crawl, and from the waist down it looked really awkward. From the waist up, it looked like he was walking normally, but he just happened to be 4'3". So it was pretty fantastic.
A little better frame rate that time?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
we've talked
That's
about
awkward
that.
this time.
We've shown you some clips. We kind of got through a lot of the highs and lows. Would you guys like to see the first episode? To give you some setup, this is the first episode. The title is Pilot because we were just working out the characters. This is the very first weekend of filming. The crew is just getting into the roles. The cast is learning the characters. So it's one of those, it looks pretty dang good, but it only gets better as it goes on. Like I said, Daryl Davey plays Michael, Lord Michael, the Lord we interact with here, does a fantastic job. He also, the bandit you saw get blasted by magic in the clip, he also played that bandit. We're like, the only way we could recycle it, he had to wear a mask, so people didn't say, hey, Lord Michael
He
is
spiked up his hair and his style.
moonlighting as a bandit, but he's two separate characters, same actor. Very British television. So,
Do we want to hit the like?
yes, that would be awesome.
Every time I put my finger on the button, you
Yeah.
guys have something else to say.
We like torturing you, Dan. You haven't figured
I
that out.
have one job.
All right, here we go.
I am Vance. I'm a mercenary. These are my associates. Selvig, my sorcerer and human map, and Wallace, my gently oblivious bodyguard. Let's start with how we got into this mess, shall we?
So, which one is Lord Hector again?
Lord Hector controls most of the northern forest, west of the Road River.
Right. Blue and gray.
He's not the worst of the lords, but he'll be well guarded.
Hey, boot prints.
Soldiers. Selvig, can you find us another route?
Yeah.
I miss being a soldier sometimes.
Well, these ones likely work for the gentlemen we're trying to kidnap.
They could be nice people.
Yes, Wallace, they could. Now be ready to hurt them.
Got it. Two guards. Easy peasy.
I could go for some of that chicken.
I'll take the one on the left.
Your left or stage left?
You killed that one.
Or incapacitate. Just as good.
Hey, you got Michael, get them.
Michael.
You're not Lord Hector.
No, I'm his younger brother, Michael.
Great.
Yeah, but you know what? Great job with that. Very professional job, you guys.
We try to be courteous.
So, here we are. If it were necessary, we could maybe fight on fair terms.
Smoke.
But I am a wizard.
Really good job with the kidnapping, guys. I have never seen a kidnapping or have been part of a kidnapping like that before.
Thanks.
You were unconscious.
I mean, the bravado, the energy, the spinning, and I'll be picking my guards out of trees for weeks.
Can we kill him now? Please?
No.
Alright, well, since we're on the subject of killing, how about you guys join my personal guard?
Those guys?
Never.
Aren't you the dropout wizard?
Technically, I only ever failed one class.
Which one was that?
Business ethics.
They definitely had a camp here, which means they most likely went that way. It's a ransom note. Get moving.
That's close enough. Show me the money. All right, toss it on the ground. We'll send him over.
Is that my money? Sorry, guys. Get mine!
Well, I'm disappointed.
Take it out on this lot, Wallace. Selvig, cover me.
Hey, don't kill me, okay?
I'm not gonna kill you. I'm just gonna knock you out one more time. Stay.
Plus, he.
You know what? Come on. We'll get him next time. Don't worry. Oh, how about you? How you doing today, huh? Hey, you know what? I'm just gonna... Yeah, here we go.
I hope you guys enjoyed that. That is the first of 9 episodes. There's 8 more that we are working hard to finish. So hopefully we'll have more very soon later this month. There's some things I wanted. Oh, one thing you might have noticed, we had a nice score there. We also had a composer named Eric Andrade, who is a McNally Smith graduate, compose an entire score for us. That will be available shortly for purchase on Bandcamp, with all proceeds going to him. That's how we pay him. He can sell the music all he wants. But it's on Bandcamp, so it's a pay model that will be happening. So that you like that. I'm going to try and pimp anyone who helped us for free and help them out, especially the artists and stuff.
One other person we need to mention is Katrine Hedrick, who did all of our visual effects. So all the blasts, all the smoke, and everything that you see is done by her. It's just captured animation.
Awesome. So, you guys have seen the episode. You've heard us talk about ourselves. We'd like to open up for Q&A. So anyone has questions, please fire away.
Question for you. With the sound editor, when the sound editing with like the multiple takes and whatnot, like if like when you stated earlier about like the planes overhead and whatnot, isn't there a way to in post production to like Jacob indicated that that he was able to hear himself in the background. Well, like in the takes that you guys want stuff, but like there's some audio in there that you want to pull up in the software that you guys use. Couldn't you like bring those pieces of audio that you didn't want out, or
yes, but that's what we needed a sound engineer for. We need someone to physically do that with the software. And I'm not a sound engineer. You gave me that software.
Beyond laying out the actual dialogue where it's
Yep.
supposed to go, there is a lot of mixing that needs to be done. There's environment sounds in terms of like the bird noises, the leaves going in. There
Sword clashes.
needs to be sword clashes. All these sound effects that you might not pick up from the location sounds will also need to be added in, mixed and mastered so that they're the right volume and that they create this whole soundscape that goes together. So the short answer is yes, we could do that. It just doesn't fulfill the full, professional sound setup that we really wanted to get.
Our goal is, despite the budget, to produce as close to a cinema quality web series as possible. I mean, that's why we had on-set sound. That's why we need sound mixing and Foley afterwards. That's why we did special effects. That's why we had a composer. That's why we put so much work into the costumes. Because we just don't want to be 4 friends in the backyard with swords, doing a fanfic or a fan version of Monty Python, which is, so, yeah, go ahead.
What, like, for the cinematography and for the choreography, the fight choreography, what kind of backgrounds did you have before you started this project?
Sure. I went to Minneapolis College of Art and Design, and I graduated with a degree in filmmaking. So it was something that I've always wanted to make movies, and this was something I chose to do in my time post-graduation. So that's basically my background. I worked on local short films. This was my pet project that I got into.
Personally, Fight Choreography, there's a great organization around called the SAFD, Society of American Fight Directors. And I am a complete idiot. I actually belong to them at the moment, but for the last 3 to 4 years, I have been attending various events, workshops. I would highly recommend Carnage. It's coming up in November. It's in Iowa. It's put together by Mike Speck, who is I believe the only other choreographer whose work actually shows up in this piece. Same fight where I stabbed shoulder.
You explain that all.
Yeah. I see how well that goes. I'm glad you guys. I'm Speck will take it.
And Max also studied theater at University. Max also, he's being very humble, but he also studied theater at University of Minnesota.
Yeah,
so he has a strong
I have a 4-degree bachelor's degree in theater from U. I put nothing in stage combat theater except for my erstwhile roommate, Mike Lucky, who's also doing combat chess, which some of you may have seen. We do it every year. Or we're in. Some of you may have been in it. We do it every year in DT Town in June-ish. It's changing.
It's one of the big fight shows.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a great time. Eye-open. That's where most of my other experiences come from. I've done that 4 years now.
So, for the most part, basically, we have this group of people who are all actors and are all combatants of some type or another who study this. They have regular open gyms, and they have everybody there knows a fair bit about stuff. So you've been there a lot longer than I have. You know those people, you've absorbed many of those skills from them. that's partially where that comes from. But a lot of it was also me saying, hey Max, I really want you to do this, and then you kind of went out on your own and did research on how you wanted stuff to be and put everything together. So I think a lot of it was you buckling down and really getting into it.
The other part of it for me is that I've been doing one variety of martial art. I studied, I played soccer when I was a little kid from the ages of like, 11 to 17. I studied Taekwondo. I studied fencing. I studied rapier for 3 or 4 years. I dabbled in probably 7 or 8 different martial arts at this point. So I have a lot of experience, but learning to convert it to stage was kind of interesting. To stage and then further from that to screen was kind of an interesting aspect of that. So I got kind of a hodgepodge background.
Any other questions?
On or off the record?
Yeah.
What's the chances that you guys think that you're gonna make more seasons?
If it's popular and people watch it, we absolutely make seasons.
We've
Season 2 is drafted out.
Yeah, we've already outlined
Tell your friends.
the plot for season 2. So we just need, so on that note, since he brings that up, if you like this and enjoy this and want to see more of this, we'll need Kickstarter money again. So the way we get that to know there's a response. So the thing we're gonna be looking at is that view total on YouTube. We're gonna sell DVDs, there's gonna be downloads and everything, so there'll be other ways for people to watch it. But it's, people watch it, they share it on their social media with their friends, get them to watch it so we know there's response. And, we're seeing 10 to 15,000 views per episode. We know that there are people like that. We're not looking to go viral. We would love to go viral, but we're not looking to go viral with 1 million views per episode. I mean, if that happens, then we're gonna get a call from Netflix Studios or something probably at that level. But we're getting 10 to 15,000 views per episode. We know that's enough response. If we do another Kickstarter and we raise $6 grand for this last one, we'll raise 15 grand for the next Kickstarter. And since we already have a lot of costumes and stuff, that money's gonna go a lot further. We'll be able to buy a better camera and do more stuff. So we would love to do more Fang Talon. So if it's something you like, we don't necessarily need financial support. Initially, we need you to watch it, share it, tell your friends. We need word of mouth. So,
And just so you guys know, real quick, the first episode is good. It only gets better from here.
Yes.
Not saying the first episode is bad, but damn, does it get better.
yeah. So we have a couple. I don't think anyone in post-production who's watched all the edits dozens and dozens of times would say one is their favorite episode or that's a good one, because we all have our favorites. I don't think anyone selected one, so it's a good episode, but there's some performances and stuff that are just fantastic and were super fun to shoot.
And again, none of us know the characters at this point. I cannot stress strongly enough, along with these guys, that really it does get a lot better as it continues. Because I know that by episode 3, 4, or we didn't shoot them all sequentially, but by the 3rd or 4th episode that we shot, I was really sort of feeling Vance, and I was abusing this guy all the time.
Yeah, I had to play a bit of my character's IQ is probably about 70 points lower than my actual IQ, which everyone told me is, it takes a really smart person to play a dumb person. I'm like, they're just telling me that. but it's one of those, and Wallace has a certain voice, it's a childlike, voice, and I found at times, there was a certain episode where I actually I'm under hypnosis of a wizard that's trying to get Selvig. Well, I just say, I'm talking smart in that episode. And to deliver the line, talking smart with big words, took me at least 17 takes, because I kept stumbling over, what was the word, acceptable. I could not say the word acceptable because it was more syllables than most of Wallace's lines. And by then, that was towards the end of production.
You got too deep.
I went to really back in. Yeah.
Another good reason to buy the DVD is the blooper reel, and I've seen it once, and I've seen it more because it's fantastic.
So once you've seen all the episodes and know the context, we will be selling DVDs for nothing costs that we sell more than $15. We're going to keep everything very affordable because we're filmmakers and restaurant managers, and we work at best. We're normal people like you that we don't have tons of money to spend on stuff, so we want to make this stuff accessible at a price line to accessible. We're not looking to make killer profit margins or anything, just enough to put a little money away to make another production. And that's something I will maintain.
Another question.
Sorry, another question. You want? No.
Do you guys have any movies or television series that you've seen that really inspired you in creating your own?
Firefly. Our show was about a group of mercenaries looking to get enough jobs to eat and pay the bills, etc., from episode to episode. So you could say we didn't really initially. That was definitely.
I mean, Kyle mentioned that we were first concepting stuff. He's like, I want to use Firefly as a model. It's like, well, duh. That's where you start.
It should be noted, my entire actor motivation for that point when I'm pointing the sword at him at the end and holding the I was trying so hard the whole time not just to say, now I've done a job and I've had more than a few unkind words in regards to so let me make one thing abundantly clear. But unfortunately that's not on the blooper reel because I controlled myself too well.
And as I said, the finale episode was strongly inspired by Seven Samurai and Magnificent Seven.
Yeah, this is Firefly is a Western space setting, and this is basically a Western fantasy setting.
I know I drew a little bit of inspiration from your studio.
The back and forth, especially between Selvig and Wallace, Tom and I's character, there's a lot of the wise guy A kind of chemistry. We don't ever use that line, but there's a bit of that. With Vance playing the straight man, he's just frustrated to have to work with us half the time. So,
Does that answer your question?
in the back.
I was going to ask, what kind of camera did you use?
Well, we shot it all on a Canon 60D, so a mid-tier DSLR.
Right.
So yes, we did have a couple of prime lenses on there. So, and we used a Glidecam HD 4000 Cinecam for all this stuff. So we used a couple bounce boxes and like some bank borrow stolen 650s and 1K lights, like Gary lights. Yeah, we didn't steal anything, but that's all.
Bank borrowed.
I repeat, we did not steal anything. So, yeah, we were pretty light on the gear. Yeah, so we spent the money where we needed it, and
Most of the money went to costumes, props, and feeding the crew. So,
Yeah.
I worked for
Most of us do.
and rent permit fees and stuff like that.
you got some magically wackadoo nuts in that clip that you just watched.
That's payment enough.
There's this Three Stooges. There you go.
We had an animator animates light and energy onto your staff so that you could smack that guy in the nuts.
Yeah, we had an animator spend time and energy for you to get a magical nut shot.
So how is that not payment?
I never said it wasn't.
I had a question right here.
When you would say that you get permits to do certain ones, I mean, is it a bunch of red tape or is it? I don't really understand.
It depends on the county. I mean, Hennepin County is like a red tape jungle, and that's what we gave up. When we did film in Hennepin County, we did guerrilla shooting, where if a cop showed up, we were like, we had no idea we needed permits. We'll move on right away. But that never happened. But and some of the public parks you don't necessarily need, but ones that were strictly under
State
Hennepin
parks or
County
national parks, those ones are technically property of the government, so you do need to get in contact with them and say, hey, we're trying to do a film, this is how big our crew's going to be, this is what our content is. They generally don't like stuff that's PG-13R or stuff that's
they wouldn't let us film a
gory
horror
or
movie.
anything like that. And depending on the size of your crew, you generally need some type of production insurance to prove to them that you're not going to cause a bunch of damage. Start things.
And you guys had that? You guys had that for this production?
So we were a small enough production, in most cases we didn't need to have that. The one office was fighting with us for a long time, and the only way we could get it was going to be like 500 to 1,000
The typical
for a day
insurance
insurance
policy
or
for
weekend.
like a small time frame film shoot, like a week or weekend, is typically a $1 million liability insurance policy, and those are very standard rates. They're very common policies. Independent filmmakers buy them all the time.
That was the kicker for us because we were actually doing combat with weapons. We had insurance got added to. Yes, we have a permit here, so that was what.
But for some reason, the city of St. Paul wants $3 million in coverage, which most film insurance companies say, who the hell needs that kind of insurance? We never write policies. So they had to make up a policy and a premium for us. Like give me 2 days and I'll come up with a price. The price would have been like 20% of our entire budget for one location, for one shot.
10 minutes.
And so we're like, we'll find another location or we'll do it guerrilla style. So we did a little bit, we found most of that, we found another location. The one part we did, we were like, we got in, we got our shot, we got out. So, I mean, if we had the budget, I would have bought permits and done it 100% by the book everywhere. Like I said, if anyone knows Mayor Ryback or his assistant, we'd love to make it easier for independent filmmakers to do things.
We got the snowbait program back.
Yeah.
You guys heard about that? Does anybody know about the snowbait program?
No.
So there's this program that was in effect about 15, 20 years ago called the snowbait program. Basically, independent filmmakers or Hollywood filmmakers that came here to make movies would get up to 20% back of the budget that they spent here in Minneapolis back on their taxes in production. So, and recently they're putting into effect a new version of the snowbait program. So,
That's how Jingle All the Way got funded, right?
So,
We are
And Fargo, so good movies.
We are actually at time at the moment.
okay. We have like 1 or 2 more questions. Does anybody have any more
Well,
questions?
let me just say, personally, I can't speak for myself, but I do know that in about a half an hour's time, there will be a Tony Stark in the hotel bar who will be totally willing to discuss any and all concepts of Fang Talon over drinks.
I will also happily talk to anyone. I'm here, Alcon, want to have a beer, talk to me. We want to really, really thank you, I can't thank you enough for showing up to the panel. I mean, basically have a packed house that really, when I looked out here and saw all these faces, my heart jumped a little bit, so really, really thank you for showing up. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you support the show and watch. When I say support, watch it on YouTube. That's all I need you to do to support the show initially. And then if you hit that share button every now and again, throw it on Reddit, throw it on Facebook, throw it on Twitter, get it out there.
You guys are great. Thank you so much for letting us come out here.